When you look at a globe, the oceans look like unrestricted blue space. They create a sense of total freedom, suggesting massive cargo ships can simply travel wherever they need to go. The reality is much more restrictive. Almost everything we buy is funneled through just 14 specific, narrow bottlenecks known as choke points. In 2021, the world saw how fragile this funnel is when the Ever Given ended up wedged against the banks of the Suez Canal. That single ship stopped traffic for just 6 days, but it cost the global economy $54 billion. We are seeing a similar squeeze right now in the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. Recent military attacks have forced commercial fleets to detour thousands of miles around the southern tip of Africa to avoid the conflict zone. These detours drive up the price of goods at your local grocery store, but the economic impact is only one side of the story. These 14 doors are the specific points where nations fight to control the flow of the modern world. Russia possesses an enormous landmass, but its geographic reach is deceptive. Most of its primary ports are frozen solid for several months of the year, effectively paralyzing its navy. This is the Bosporus. To reach the Mediterranean and the open ocean year-round, the Russian fleet must navigate through this gap and the neighboring Dardanelles. Turkey controls these straits under international law. This means Russia's ability to project power by sea depends entirely on the permission of a foreign government. China faces a similar struggle in the Strait of Malacca. This crowded channel handles 25% of all global sea trade, including the vast majority of the oil that fuels the Chinese economy. Beijing refers to this vulnerability as the Malacca Dilemma. In a conflict, the United States Navy could strangle the supply of energy to China simply by blocking this 1.5-mile-wide channel. This geographic dread is why China is spending billions on overland highways through Central Asia and attempting to secure alternative shipping lanes through Indonesia. Physical size offers a country very little protection if a rival power controls the only deep-water paths to the outside world. The Taiwan Strait is often discussed as a battleground for microchips. However, the military standoff there is driven by a different geographic necessity: access to deep water. This satellite view shows why Taiwan is so valuable. It acts as a physical wall separating mainland China from the Pacific. The water between them is too shallow for submarines to operate undetected. But on Taiwan's eastern side, the ocean drops into deep trenches. Controlling Taiwan would allow the Chinese submarine fleet to reach the deep Pacific undetected. It would remove the primary geographic barrier preventing them from directly threatening the American coast. For China, the battle for Taiwan is a fight to break out of geographic containment. The map of global power is constantly changing. Humans cut a path through the Panama Canal specifically so ships could bypass the dangerous storms at the southern tip of South America. Today, rising temperatures are creating a new door in the Bering Strait, the narrow gap between Alaska and Russia. As the Arctic ice melts, it opens a new route that connects Asia to Europe and the Americas in a fraction of the time it takes to travel through the tropics. Major powers are already building Arctic military bases and claiming territory to ensure they control this new trade route. With the world's survival tied to these narrow passages, which nation currently holds the most leverage? Out of the 14 critical choke points on the planet, the United States maintains a direct or indirect military presence over 10 of them. Dominance on this map requires more than a large nuclear arsenal. It depends on the ability to physically occupy these lanes and decide who is allowed to pass. Geopolitical conflict is rarely just about the borders drawn on a map. The real fight for global influence is being settled in a few narrow miles of water.